Haha. That was like the easiest it's been in weeks, months, maybe even. I'm going to say that now, and everything else is going to go crazy. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. I am glad that we are joining together on Zoom this evening to celebrate Shabbat. I hope that our service together is a time for us, even though we're kind of sitting in our own spaces, for us to feel like we are in community with each other, and that we're able to get a sense of meaningfulness and peace, which is what Shabbat is supposed to bring us. I also want to say, just so everyone who has not joined us before knows kind of the way things flow for our service, all of the prayers that we'll be saying together will be part of my shared screen presentation. So you should obviously feel free to follow along. We can't hear each other singing, but I can certainly see you singing if your camera is on. And so that, I know, brings me joy, knowing that we're able to do this together, even though we can't hear each other. And I also wanted to say, just as a reminder, that because we are all virtual and in our own space, that I won't be saying the traditional cues for please rise or please be seated. So I want people to feel comfortable rising or not as you are able and as you're comfortable. So, but I'm not going to announce those cues. So as those parts of the service come, if you feel inspired to stand, you should feel welcome to do so. Otherwise, it is totally okay. And with that, I think we are going to begin. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to help work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. And we'll sing together from the book of Psalms, Hine Matov Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together. Hine Matov Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine Matov Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. We'll continue singing together the medieval poem Lecha Dodi, and as we do, we'll welcome Shabbat as a bride and as a queen with these with these words of poetry. Ya la 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela, shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad, ish miyanu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet v'litzila, ya elai elai ya la 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela, likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, v'sof ma'aseh b'machshava tefila, ya elai elai ya la 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela, Hitoreri, Kiva orech, Kumi ori, Uri, Shir daveri, Kevod Adonai, Alayit nigla, ya elai elai, ya la 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela, boi v'shalom atzeret balaam, gam besimcha u'tzolam, tov emunei am segula, boi chala, ya elai elai ya la 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. We'll continue welcoming Shabbat and the Shabbat angels, the ministering angels of peace, as we join together in singing these words of shalom, these words of welcome, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Kadosh Baruch Hu. If you have your Shabbat candles and you'd like to light along with me, we'll join together in doing that now. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We'll continue with our call to prayer, Baruch Hu. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom b'layla, kolel or mipnei choshech. Kolel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom b'layla, kolel or mipnei choshech. Kolel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. We'll continue with Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Ba'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Ba'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha. V'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'velechtecha v'aderech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha Ukshartam leot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot beineinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. Leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai, vihitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hodseiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Excuse me. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands and marching together. We continue with our prayer, Mi Chamocha. Thank you. Our prayer for freedom and redemption. After I have a sip of water. continue with our Hashkivenu prayer, asking God for God's sheltering presence of peace to rest on us this evening and every evening, for peace and safety. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Behamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Behamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Behamidenu shomreinu We'll continue with our centerpiece of our service, our tefillah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol atah Rav Lehoshia, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Ve'Rofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechaye, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Yana ensacha bekomcha nala benela vana lo ensacha kevodcha malei olam. Yana ensacha kekomcha nala benela vana lo ensacha kevodcha malei olam. Darashti kirvatcha bechol libi kiraticha utzeiti likratcha lekrati mesaticha. Yai, yai, la, la, lai, yai, la, la, lai, yai, la, la, yai, la, 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 lai, yai, la, la, lai, yai, la, la, yai, la, la, yai, la, la, lai. Yana emsacha mekomcha nala benela va'ana lo emsacha kevodcha malei olam. Where might I go to find you, O exalted and hidden one? Yet where would I not go to find you, ever-present eternal one? My heart cries out to you, please draw near to me. The moment I reach out for you, I find you reaching in for me. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you and find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha b'yira na'avod. Excuse me. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our life within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha ulecha na'el lehodot. We'll continue with a prayer for peace. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Chasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Chasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu Adon, lechol hashalom, shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, chasim leolam. בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, חסים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, חסים לעולם. חסים לעולם. חסים לעולם. We'll take a moment for our own quiet thoughts and prayers. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי, וגואלי. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri Vegoali, Vegoali. Excuse me. We devote the next few moments of our service this evening to holding those in our lives, our loved ones, our friends, our family members who are in need of a prayer of healing in our thoughts and our prayers. If there is someone who you're thinking of and you'd like to share their name, I can in the chat, so I can read them aloud, so we can all keep them in our prayers for healing. Please type them in the chat and I'll read them out loud in just a moment. Roz Gibel, Lauren Trichek, Esther Greenwald, Jonathan Rosen and family, the Vance family, the Anthony family, Ellen Petracco, the Hooker family, Vicky Vessier, And for all of our loved ones who are in need of a prayer of healing, we say, Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim, blessed is God who brings healing to those who are in need of healing. We'll join together in singing Misha Berach, our prayer for healing. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a minute. Some weeks there are, I guess you could say, more topics that jump out in order to try and say something about them. There were no shortage of things that I could have, brought for you this evening. But one thing in particular kind of stuck out to me. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Mishpatim, which Mishpatim means law or justice. And for the most part, it is a series of laws that, if you look at them, you wouldn't necessarily find any linear correlation between all of these particular laws, ranging from, ironically, as the people of Israel are leaving slavery and have been redeemed by God out of Egypt, they're the laws of what it means to hold slaves, all the way down to discussions about the festivals and even ideas about witchcraft and all sorts of other things. All of these things are talked about in this week's Torah portion from a legal perspective. But there is an interesting verse as it relates to the celebrating of the three major festivals of Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot, that I thought that this verse was interesting, and it follows what I'm bringing forward. It follows a pattern of rabbinic wordplay that I think adds to how we can see the Torah and how it kind of informs what we should be doing today. So this short phrase comes in the context of these three festivals, and it says Shalosh pe'amim b'shana yira'eh. So, and the important part of that sentence really is the last word, but that short sentence means 3 times a year you shall be seen. So that phrase yira'eh means you shall be seen, but there becomes, I guess, in rabbinic literature, the question of what that means. When it says you shall be seen, why is that the commandment when we're talking about celebrating the festival? So you could argue that if the only reason you're going to Jerusalem and during these three festivals in ancient times is that you should be seen there, that's not really kind of meeting any sort of like religious or spiritual goal. It seems kind of self-serving almost. But I think there's an important idea to this, being this idea of what it means to be seen, and I'll share it with you in a second. But when the rabbis were considering alternatives to what this phrase could mean, because as most of us know, that biblical Hebrew is really happy with ambiguity, and so there are multiple possibilities in every word, and even more possibilities in every sentence. But just looking again at this word yira'eh, the rabbis say that when you're reading this sentence, you could also read it yireh without the extra vowel sound. Reading it, the sentence as yireh means that that person who is going to these festivals shall see. And again, it raises the question of what that means. What's this person supposed to see while they're there? Is witnessing these rituals, again, supposed to be spiritually fulfilling, and if all they're doing is just seeing what's happening, is that really what's supposed to be doing? Anyway, taking that idea, this dual idea that the same word really, depending on how you accent it, can mean that you shall be seen and that a person should see, brought to mind one of the events that happened this week that I think is important to talk about. And that is yesterday, which happened to be the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, and ultimately what we call International Holocaust Remembrance Day. That on that day, there happens to be a school district in Tennessee, in McKinnon County, Tennessee, which banned Art Spiegelman's famous Pulitzer Prize-winning graphic novel, Maus. Apparently, Maus was a regular part of Holocaust education and the curriculum for 8th graders in the school district. And the school district's board unanimously, 10-0 vote, voted that Maus was again, it's a graphic novel about the Holocaust, that it was too graphic, that there were images that were inappropriate and words that were inappropriate for 8th graders, and that they tried to say that it had nothing to do with excluding Holocaust education, but that it was this book specifically that shouldn't be taught in schools because of its graphic nature. So why is that important? There are obvious, I think, implications for this. One, announcing the ban of a Holocaust studies book on International Holocaust Remembrance Day to me seems more blatant than not. And no matter how much this particular school district decides to defend their decision to ban the book for age-related content, doing so on International Holocaust Remembrance Day was really not a good look. But it goes beyond that for me, and I think part of it is that when the Torah tells us that when we're supposed to be honoring something, in the Torah's case, honoring the festivals, part of what it means is to acknowledge what's happening in front of us. And in the case of this book being banned as part of the curriculum and banned from I guess middle schools in general. What was unclear from me reading the whole story is whether they actually had banned the book from high school curriculum too, but it was very clear that for at least middle school and the 8th grade curriculum, this book was taken out. That people need to see what's going on and understand what happened in history in order to not repeat the things that we don't want to have repeated. The Holocaust is a part of Jewish history that is incredibly painful and was an incredibly graphic and obscene thing that happened in our history. If we say that you can't read a book about the Holocaust because it was obscene, that's almost a form of denial, a denial of reality. Um, and and so we should be concerned about allowing people, or of being very forceful in our suggestion that these books not be hidden, that these books should be seen. They should be allowed to be seen. They should be allowed to be studied, so that the events are not that we can train a generation of young people who understand the absolute horror of these events, and not to try and whitewash over what happened. Changing gears. So what does it mean in this context when it says that we should be seen? So we go from the person shall see, that it's necessary in this case and in other cases to see the truth in history, to see the truth, and not be scared by obscenity in certain contexts, because they're opportunities for learning. So what does it mean to be that we should be seen in these moments? Well, it just so happens that not so long ago there were a group of people after the death of George Floyd, who were gathering together in York County, Pennsylvania. I don't know how many people have seen this because it was in the news, but it didn't make such big news. That in York County, Pennsylvania, there was a group of people who are doing basically what I'm doing right now with Greenville County Public Schools. They were gathering together as a part of a diversity, equity, inclusion strategy. And part of their strategy was to ensure that certain books were presented in school as educational tools to understand things like racism and the history of racism, and to understand LGBTQ issues and and issues of gender identity and all of these things. This strategy team, which was commissioned by the school board, was asked to select books that would be educational in nature to teach as part of the curriculum, to bring awareness to these issues because they're important. What happened was, ultimately in York County, Pennsylvania, is that the school board took this list, and rather than using it as a list of opportunities for education, they basically banned all of the books on the list that was suggested by the diversity, equity, and inclusion team, which frankly is shocking, but maybe it shouldn't be shocking in our day and political climate. But what's better, and what kind of shows the necessity of what it means to really show up in these kinds of moments, is that students and parents from York County began protesting out in front of the schools. They set up free libraries. For those of you who've ever seen those little like boxes that you can put in your neighborhood, they set up free libraries with all of the volumes of books right outside of the schools as a form of protest against the school board. And what ultimately happened is they won. Because they decided to protest en masse, they showed up. They talked about how they thought that these were important enough issues for them to learn about in school, and the school board listened to them. We have an incredible opportunity when these kinds of things happen, to show up. When people try to ban books, not just about the Holocaust, but whether they're studying diversity of any kind, really, whether it's learning a part of history that we're ashamed of, like the history of racism and slavery in this country, whether it's learning about other kinds of cultures from people around the world who are different than we are here. These are important things. They're not things that we should allow to be banned, and we should. And if there are those in positions of leadership, especially in our school system, who would choose to try to ban these things, it's our obligation to show up, to be there, and to make it known that we don't think that these things are obscene, that they can be used as educational tools, and ultimately as opportunities for building bridges with people who who are not like us. We should view that as a positive thing. So it's my hope that if we should encounter any of these things and we are able to make a difference, if we're able to show up, or for that matter, if we are able to make these things seen to people who have had them banned for them in the past, that we are able to show them to be teachers, to be educators, and to be bridge builders. And with that, I will say Shabbat Shalom. I am going to reshare my screen, hopefully. There we go. And we'll begin concluding our service with Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad ushemo echad. We devote the next few moments of our service to hold in our hearts those for whom we have loved and lost. First, honoring those for whom we are in a period of Shloshim within 30 days of their death, Stanley Berry and Gail Rose Carmack. And we also hold within our hearts those for whom this Shabbat and the previous week were a yahrzeit or an anniversary of their death. Gertrude Kustner, Ann Sugarman Nachman, Seymour Slegman, Selma Steiner, Monroe J. Mayer, Abe M. Sahlberg, Maxie Alpert, Edith Feinberg, Edith Katz, Nathan Saltzman, Harry S. Abrams, Bernard Coltow, Gadol Barrett, Mildred Adler, Stella Canner, Leon Simon Geismar, Bessie Galub, Martin Hoffman, Louis E. Immerschein, Eva Mendelson, and Elsa Baum. And if they are loved ones you're holding in your hearts at this time and you'd like to add their name to our list for Kaddish, please type their names in the chat and I will read them out loud. Ann Hawkins, Ralph Martin, I actually don't know how to pronounce that name. If someone else does and they want to unmute themselves, that is... Jill, do you want to unmute yourself to say that? I don't know how to pronounce his name.
It's Thich Nhat Hanh. He's the great Buddhist monk and peacemaker. He passed away last week at age 95 in Vietnam.
Thank you. And the Vance family? And for all of our loved ones we hold in our hearts, we say Zichronam Livracha, may their memory be an eternal blessing. We'll join together in the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyom echon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'yimru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei de kedusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates peace in the heavens on high bring peace to us here on earth, to all people, to all of the people of Israel and all people of the world, and may God send comfort to all those who are in mourning. And we say together, Amen. Just a couple of announcements for this week. The first is that we are going to be holding a food drive this Sunday, January 30th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the parking lot. Non-perishable food items such as cereal, canned goods, and boxed meals are always needed to help keep the United Ministries pantry well stocked. So please consider donating. This is an outdoor event. So if you have some extra stuff in your pantry that you want to get out, or if you'd like to make a donation, otherwise please come by this Sunday. Yes, please do. Please bring canned goods. Another United Ministries announcement, for those of you who don't get their e-news, they're bringing in a guest speaker, Brian Stevenson, who is a civil rights attorney and the founder of the Equal Justice Initiative, which the goal of which is to bring awareness and education to issues of racial justice. And he in particular works within the criminal justice system to defend people who are on death row. He's a fantastic speaker. And I think he's probably one of the top civil rights attorneys in the country and does a lot of good work to try to bring justice to people in our country. So he's coming to Greenville through United Ministries. There are tickets that are still available, and part of what United Ministry has done to try and advertise for this event is to recruit various clergy people around town who partner with United Ministries to write or to participate in writing a series of op-ed, op-ed articles for the Greenville News. And so I had the pleasure this week of partnering with Reverend Kendra Plating from First Baptist. She and I worked together, co-wrote a short article, which should come out in 2 weeks in the Greenville News. So if you're interested in reading what we had to say, you should look for it in the Greenville News. I think it's February 13th is when it's supposed to come out. But the point of the article was really to kind of push interest for coming to United Ministries to hear Brian Stevenson speak, which should be a really, again, great opportunity. He'll be here, I think, in April, so there's still time to buy tickets, and you can find information on the United Ministries website. I think that is what I have for this evening as far as announcements go. Does anyone else know of anything that I'm forgetting that's coming up now? Dave says, watch your e-news for this week's temple reopen. Yeah, so yes, thank you. The temple should be reopened for services next Friday. I will be at a conference for our Greenville County Interfaith Justice Network is participating in a national conference for organizing clergy people, and so I'll be in Orlando next Friday, and we will figure out who will lead services, but it should be in the sanctuary. But again, keep your eyes on the e-news just in case something changes. But we should also for sure have religious school starting back up this coming Sunday. Not this weekend, but the Sunday following. Okay. We are going to conclude with our Shabbat blessings over wine, our Kiddush, and blessing our children and Motzi, and then we'll conclude our service. So first, we'll say Kiddush. So if you have something to say Kiddush over, something sweet, we'll join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen l'chaim. Kim says it's February 6th. Don't come this Sunday for religious school. February 6th for religious school. Oh, come on. And our blessing for our children, if you are with your children, sitting near them, can see them on a screen, or just holding them in your hearts, these words of blessing are for our kids. Yesimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chi Menashe. May you be blessed like the children of Joseph, Ephraim, and Menashe. Yesimecha Elohim ke'Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May you be blessed like the mothers of our people, like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. May all of our children be blessed to be proud of who they are, and may they always be blessed to strive to be the best version of themselves. We wish all of our children these words of blessing from the Torah. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine on you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence always feel close to you, and may you always be blessed with the most precious gifts of wholeness and peace. Amen. And I have a roll for Motzi this evening. If you have something that you'd like to say Motzi over also, please do. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'te'avon. And we'll conclude our service singing a prayer for peace. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Amen. Maker of peace, grant us peace to all Israel and all people of the world. And we'll sing together. There we go. Yai la 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 la, yai la yai la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la yai la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oh, say shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I am going to